Happy 2025 to all my entrepreneurial friends. I thought I would make this webinar at 1 p.m. EST, started 5 minutes late. We will be talking about podcasting in 2025, right? Which is a pretty important topic, in my opinion. And it's probably the best way to run and scale a business in 2025. So, without further ado, I'll drink a swig of coffee here so I can deliver some great content. First question: how did you guys spend the last bits of 2024? I, on my side, went on my roof here with the family, and it was pretty nice. We saw a lot of fireworks. Um, all right, first sip of coffee of the day. Got to bed at like 3. Went walking the dogs, had a nice breakfast. So yeah, it's a nice start. Hopefully, I'll be productive today. Podcasting, guys. So why are our podcasts so great? Let me share you some magic here. Let's go check at Warehouse My Podcast, which is YouTube. Let's see how some of my shorts are doing. 400 views, 600, 700. Yeah. So, okay. Why should you start a podcast in 2025? One for lead gen, two for sponsor money, three for AdSense money, which is YouTube paying you a monthly basis, four, learning, five, meeting new people and connections that you can monetize over a lifetime, six, having fun and doing some ikigai stuff, right? Like in 2025, it's all about ikigai. And yeah, let's let's cover the first couple of them. I ate something spicy, so bear with me here. Um, okay, so what's the dealio with podcast lead gen? What is podcast lead gen, right? Podcast lead gen is you have a company, right? Let's say in my case, I have a cold email AI agency, and I'm targeting serial tech entrepreneurs making over 5 million a year, 15% growth rate, values transparency, honesty, open source, is connected to XYZ people, likes these pages, for example. Well, we can target this exact ICP to come on my podcast. And instead of being like, hey, do you want to buy this? Which is pretty rude to someone you don't even know. And considered, yeah, outdated in the LinkedIn world. Well, you will ask them out on a podcast date. So you ask them to come on your podcast. You interview them for 30 minutes. What are the best sales calls? Who are the best salespeople? They're the best question askers. They're the people that can generate insights in seconds, in minutes, right? And that's what you do on a podcast. So, and at the same time, you're making sure that they're fit for you, and vice versa. It's an honest, open conversation. That's what a podcast is. It replaces the modern sales calls. With that pretext, you can get 5 to 10 podcasts per day, and close 10% into clients. Pretty powerful stuff, right? So, lead gen. Sorry, I'm in all of my sneezy states today. Lead gen podcasting, for example, if you would do the sales way, sure, that leads would be more qualified, right? But the scale of it wouldn't make sense. You would get like one sales calls per day, maybe per week if you're lucky. And in the cold email world, you can't really cold email people anymore with like direct offers, right? So the podcast offer ultimately scalable just for the lead generation reason. And I guess most of my audience here are solopreneurs, right? Running their own business. So lead gen, podcasting, bread and butter, vanilla and chocolate together. Then it's not over yet. Like you don't just podcast for making huge quantities of money with your business, right? And I do recommend that everyone should have an agency, not just a SaaS, for example. But it works for any B2B niche, any B2B niche. The second reason is that, yeah, sponsors will pay you. So people will be like, hey, you're pretty cool. Your audience is big. We like the questions you're asking on the pod. We like the quality of it. Can we pay you $100 to $1,000 per episode, right? And guess what happens if you do many of these episodes per day, per week? Amazingness happens. So you can outreach to these sponsors via email. And yeah, if you target the right person with a podcast or partnership title, you can close many of them. Um, so yeah, that's another stream of income. Eventually it'll come. You prioritize the quality of your pod, your guests, your audience in mind. By the way, my hack is that my guests are my audience, right? So the CEOs and the founders I interview, which are my favorite people in the world, they're also the folks that will listen to the podcast. So that is pretty strong right there. Then after the sponsor stuff, it's not over yet. There's a third source of income from podcasts, which is why I'm obsessed with them. By the way, this is interview-based podcast, not like content, right? I don't advise the content type of podcasts, although it could be fun in some shape and form. The third source of income from podcasts is YouTube AdSense. So this one's pretty micro, but it's pretty fun and addictive because you can grow your number of followers, you can grow your amount of views. It's something trackable, something that you can measure and track and grow. It's an obsession you can grow, which is the key here, like closing the serotonin loop, right? You do content, you get views, you get paid. So the brain is addicted to that. So YouTube will pay you, my case, like anywhere from 30 to 150 per month. And in my case, I'm not even scaling it. So you can see the potential, right? I only have 2K followers on YouTube. So think of if you'd have 2 million like Mr. Beast. Well, you add 3 zeros in the check that I just mentioned, which is 150K per month, which is what big YouTubers are doing out there. You'll see like some random stuff on my YouTube here, like some hit workouts. These are the podcasts here. Fourth, learning from the CEOs and founders you interview. That's my favorite part because money is knowledge, especially if you put it to action, right? That's monetizing knowledge. And learning from people on your podcast, if you ask them the right questions and if you're really intrigued into what they do, if you really select the right people, it's huge. It is humongous. The insights you can get, the wisdom you can get. So just for that, I would do it. I would do it even if it wouldn't pay me. The fifth reason is, yeah, meeting mavericks. So in podcasting, you once in a while, right? Like once every 10 guests, you will get a big baller, someone that, yeah, has done things differently, has accelerated learning, has done huge quantity of actions in this field, and as a result have got unique insights to share, right? So these folks, if you interview them on a pod on a yearly basis, like you should, right? Like every time you get a maverick on your pod, you should re-invite them to the pod. If you speak to them on a yearly basis, or even if you want to take more of their time every 6 months, right? Imagine the relationship you can build with someone like that. You obviously you'll subscribe them to your newsletter. You'll have them on LinkedIn, right? And if they keep on seeing your content over and over again, they'll get to know you, and then they might appreciate some parts of you, and their a relationship will develop. That's how it happens nowadays. It's bits of content online, right? And if you're friends with a billionaire and you're friends with another billionaire and you connect them together in $100 million deal, that's good money. So that's how it happens. That's how you develop a network nowadays. It's not by meeting people physically or doing an MBA, and that's probably the worst shit ever. It's by starting a podcast and interviewing Mavericks. The last reason, I mean, it's not for everyone. What needs to be your type of thing. Me, I have huge fun learning from people. Hearing stories is fun as well. Could always be better at all of the above, but yeah, it's fun to talk to people. It grows your heart, right? Not just your brain. And to truly scale as a human being, to not be a greedy capitalist that is just taking, taking, taking. Well, you need to have these conversations with the world. It's more than just data. It's like deep heart understanding. I interview lots of nonprofits CEO on my podcast and got some great insights from them. And one of my strongest emotional goal for next year is hard base, obviously, right? It's the dog shelter thing that I want to scale and yeah, alleviate poverty here in Oaxaca. Fun is to me is also synonym with like friendship. And coming back to the fifth point of making connections, like it's my best funnel to actually make great friends, right? Scalable friends, not like fake ones, because friendship is interesting, right? Like when I think about the friends that I had in high school, well, it was mostly fakery. It was like, okay, we see each other like every day or every 2 to 3 days, only in like high serotonin environments and scenarios like drinking, right? It's pretty much easy to be everyone's friend when you're drinking, right? Or playing video games, for example. But later in life, you find out that some of these people are losers, you know? Well, not all of my past friends are losers, but some of them, they didn't scale up to today, you know, like to this adult, mature self that I am. And for many reasons. But my point is, my best fits nowadays, people that I get along with, are entrepreneurs. They're founders. They're people I interview on this podcast. They're people with opinions, people that are not afraid to tell their truth, people that are financially independent, right? So, podcasting, you start online uh, with strangers, quite literally, filter them, right? Like we said initially here. And eventually, some of them will become clients. Once they become clients, well, they buy my time, right? So every week I get to meet them and get to know more about them. And eventually, if I like them, well, we become friends. And then friends with me is business, right? Like if we're going to be friends, we need to do business together. We need to trade money, which is business, right? And trading money is trust. It's trusting someone. So no broke people around me, right? Like that. Being broke is being broke mentally. So once they become my clients, usually I invite them to my mastermind. Some of my mastermind editions are physical, and yeah, we get to chill. We meet physically, and then we take it to the next level, right? We see if this friendship can scale. And I've probably met 5 to 10 CEOs and founders that are solid friends per year, which is a good ratio, right? Like most adults won't even make new friends in their full adult lifetime. Um, I think it's the best way to scale trust, and imagine what we can do together with these friends later on. You know, like if trust is there, I mean, huge things can happen. So podcasting for lead gen money, for YouTube AdSense money, for sponsor money, for learning, for connections, and for fun. 6 reasons to do podcasting in 2025. Hope you guys are onto that growth train because yeah, it's gonna last probably a 1 year, 2 year period slash window of time, and yet it's something not to be missed. So start the right way this 2025. Start a podcast, start experimenting, see if it's for you. But me, many times I wanted to quit this podcasting game, right? He's like, oh, I had 2 shitty interviews today. Like, I mean, it's never perfect. There's no perfect systems. Like, these crooks went on my podcast just for views, right? But are they guilty of that? Because me, I use podcasting as a lead gen funnel, right? So it's like part of the game. And yeah, just like empathy, right? You talk with them and you're like, okay, this was maybe therapeutic for them, or maybe they thought they were a big shot for 2 seconds. So sometimes, yeah, the pod game, especially when you start, it won't be easy. You're like, why do I need to spend time on this? What technology do I need to use? Why is this taking so long to grow? So I guess that's where like passion comes in. Need to be genuinely interested in people, and that is one for sure. And second, even when you've scaled this system, which is pretty simple, it's made to not take too much of your time, right? It's made to be super efficient. Everything is in the calendar, everything's automated. Just the actual interviews not automated in my systems. And that will not be the case this year. I'll fully have an AI run the whole show, right? Even when you're at that level, sometimes you can be like, I don't want to continue that. This is too much work. This is not working. The thing and the trick here, people, is that sales, they do take time. And the podcast, we're starting very at the very top of the funnel, which is like literally strangers, right? They don't know you. And that means that in my niche, for example, will take at least 30 to 90 days to close a transaction with someone that went on my podcast. So that's where patience comes in, right? And that's where the brain is really bad. First, the brain forgets a lot. And second, the brain is not made to think in time frames of 30 to 90 days. So not only do you forget about that people and to follow up and so forth, but sometimes you're like, oh, why is this not working? But you forgot that, for example, you didn't have any podcast for the past 3 weeks. You forgot about this podcast that you did like 6 months ago, and that guy's about to reach out because you just sent this newsletter to that person and they just woke up and they're gonna buy your shit. And that here like is something that I see a lot of entrepreneurs missing. They don't value the sales cycle. They don't think in terms of sales cycle. They think like really impulsively and like day by day. But the thing is, if you want to scale anything, you need to start like 3 months ago. And people are like, oh, I don't want to do podcasting. It's too slow, too much of my time. But my question is like, are you really an entrepreneur? Are you really made for that game? What else do you think is gonna bring like instant results? Directly selling to people that don't even know you at the top of the funnel? That shit doesn't work, like it may have worked like 5 to 10 years ago, but nowadays that just doesn't work. You need to go more subtle. You need to go value based, which is why people accept podcasting, right? Like to be on the limelight, to discuss with another smart being. Sales done the old way just won't work, especially this year, especially in the cold email channel. So if you want to start your cold email with a podcast invite and have high open rates and nice deliverability, that's a good idea. The podcast invitation, sending a direct sales message and being salesy to someone from the get-go in a cold email, you're gonna get in the fucking spams. So for all these reasons, the podcast funnel is the ultimate weapon for growth still in this day and age, in this year, right? I started Podfire about like 2 years ago, and I was telling people about the podcast system 2 years ago. If yeah, you haven't caught that message, that means literally you wasted 2 years plus of not like catching up onto that podcast lead gen system, but you still have a 1 to 2 years window. Like I said, I'm saying 1 to 2 years window because I think everyone will start doing that. Then AI will amplify it, and then there will be AI agents actually doing the reach out and doing the podcast, right? So I think it will fade away pretty quick, is what I'm saying. So you guys, if you have questions about starting a pod, ask them directly to me. But I started this mountain climbing group to climb Pico de Orizaba yesterday with like a couple of CEOs and founders, and I was like literally trying to convince them to climb the mountain. It's just like that, you know, like it's an amazing experience. And if you're missing out, you're just fucking missing out. And if you don't want to believe me or listen to me, that is fine. But then I see like a bunch of founders and CEOs that are stuck, that are not getting growth, or worse, I see some that are having amazing success and like just serotonin surfing that wave and just completely oblivious of the tsunami that's coming behind them, right? So whether you're in a bad situation, podcasting, I mean, it can get you from 0 to 1 in 30 to 60 days. It's relatively easy. By the way, you don't need to complicate yourself with the interview and the tech stack. I talk about all that in my master class, but it's super simple. You could even do it on a Zoom, right? And then being an interviewer, well, you can have ChatGPT come up with 10 questions. Um, and then it's just like a conversation with a normal human being. I think most humans have conversational skills. So this is no biggie. Same for the newsletter follow up. Just start a Substack. It's free. My advice is start now. You know, like start experimenting now. Don't even ask questions. Fucking do it. It's like all good experiments and all great growth hackers. They just try stuff and analyze the results afterwards. So try it. See if it's for you. See if it's your main lead generation channel. It is certainly my main lead generation channel. I've generated probably 50% of my clients last year from lead gen podcasting. And they're top clients, you know, like they're not the typical schmucks that will just pay you for who you are. They became friends, business partners, and people that'll make multiples of millions with. So that is the formula right there. It's not the direct selling bullshit, transactional type of relationship that was the pattern back then. That has changed. Start your podcast. 2025 is the